There it is. All right, I think we're good.
All right, welcome everybody. If you're just joining us, we're just getting set up and kicking everything off.
Yep, we're good.
All right. Well, welcome to the 034 Motorsport 0BS Q&A live chat. I'm Javad Shadzi, and this is Nate Stewart, and we're here to answer all your questions about all things 034. Feel free to ask us anything about any of our products, services, anything about any general automotive questions you have. If you ask us to give you an update on when something's going to be ready or if we're doing something or not, we may not answer those questions. We will keep those at the bottom of our queue in case there's time at the end to do those. But we prioritize topical questions. So if you do ask a question like that, please don't get upset if we don't. Jump right on it. We just want to spend the time discussing topical subjects that we can give definitive answers for versus kind of guessing at when something is going to be released, and we may not know. We take a zero BS approach to responding to questions. Hopefully that doesn't bother anybody, but our goal is to really put out accurate information out there. There's a lot of misinformation in the world today, including in this industry, online. Anyone can say anything they want. And so for us, we have an hour to kind of dispel as many of those myths as we can. And sometimes people don't like hearing those answers. Not to say we're perfect, but that is our goal. And if we're ever wrong, we'll come back and talk about it and let you know.
Yeah, a lot of times the answers aren't completely black and white, like people are really wanting either. Usually there's a lot of nuanced and gray area or more information needed kind of thing. So we're not going to blow smoke and just give you an answer to move on to the next thing. It's a lot of the stuff can't necessarily be as simple yes or no.
No, that's a really good point. In the engineering world, and I think science world too, whenever you want a straight answer about something, the response is usually it depends. Yeah. Because various things can be true depending on what the circumstances are. And that's, it's not necessarily that people are out there. I mean, there are definitely plenty of people that want to put out false information, but a lot of times it's well-intentioned. They're just oversimplifying the reality of the situation. All right, let's jump into it. Someone says, I'm installing 034 control arms and BC Racing coilovers in a 2016 A6. Which should I install first? I want to do both jobs while it's jacked with wheels off. I'm not sure I understand. I mean, if you're going to do them both at the same time, then just go in and...
Yeah, it's not a do first thing, it's all at once.
Yeah, you're pretty much going to be touching everything. The suspension is mostly connected to the control arms, and all that stuff has to come out. So it's actually a great time to do your control arms.
I mean, you can take it all out in like almost a big assembly with the strut still attached.
You absolutely can. So you can take out the whole suspension. But yeah, I'll do both, and I'm not sure. I don't have a lot of experience with the BC Racing coilovers, but the new control arms always make a car give it that new feeling again.
Yep. And just try and remember to do your final tightening and torque set the vehicle fully at ride height for those, especially the lower control arm inner bolts. Yeah.
That is a good question. Has there ever been a product you wanted to develop or produce but decided not to?
Oh God!
Sorry,
that was me. Something exploded.
Due to feasibility or lack of demand, what is the typical driver to bring one product to market over another? That's a great question. As you can imagine, there's lots of products like this. Someone is mentioning our B8 rear adjustable control arms. Yep. That's something that we developed a really nice part for it. We were getting ready to go into production or start seriously, tooling the part up and getting it made. But in some of our initial testing, it came out that it was like going to take 10 plus hours to install these rear control arms in the B8, and I think B9 is similar. just because you have to drop the whole rear subframe out of the car. And so we did some soul searching. It's a great product. The market needs it, wants it. It would have been a perfectly acceptable price to buy. But then I think when people would find out that it was going to be like $2-3 grand to install them, or have their car, up on jack stands in their driveway for days or week, it seemed like that just wasn't going to be a product that people would actually want to do once they knew the reality of it. So we did not release that, even though we have a really nice design ready to go.
Yeah.
I mean, there was for a while we were seriously considering doing like a B8 turbo kit.
Yeah, there's been a handful of turbo kits that we've either brought to fully functional prototypes or gotten really far along, and it's just one of those things where the market.
We ran the numbers, and it's going to cost like 10 grand.
You're right, and perfectly acceptable for a big, well-designed turbo kit. But when your cars are at that point, in the teens, it's a really hard sell to produce anything and support it.
And the factory supercharger is actually a really great unit, and does produce great power. There was also, we actually had pretty much a production turbo kit for the basically the
O7K
Jetta,
motor, yeah.
the O7K Mark 6 Golf Jetta, that kind of Mark 5, Mark 6 era cars with the O7K 5-cylinder. And similar thing, it was a really good quality kit with an Inconel exhaust manifold, the V-band on the exhaust manifold.
Yeah, it was all 3D printed, essentially, rapid cast manifold.
But I ran all the numbers on it, and we were going to have to sell it for like $8 grand. And there was a VW Vortex thread where this company that sells cheap Chinese turbos was talking about releasing like a drop-in kind of a 07K turbo that had the like a FSI style manifold built in that would bolt right to the head, and it was going to be like $1,700, and people in this thread were like, $1,700, oh, that's so much. And I was like, we're about to move forward with an $8,000 turbo kit. Yeah. So I was like, kill it. And that thread just kind of convinced me that.
And it was super well-performing kit, very efficient, made a bunch of power.
We installed a few of them through our service department.
Yeah, it was like a turnkey 400 wheel, on your front-wheel drive Jetta.
Yeah. So I mean, I could go on and on for days about the products, but the driver, there's not just one. Certainly, one is, will anyone buy it? And if they're going to, about how many people do we think will buy it? There's, does it present a profitable situation to sell it? And so, if something's going to cost us $300 to make and put on the shelf, and people are only willing to pay $325 for it, that's a done deal. Like, we can't release that. That would just be a money loser. And you can go out of business real fast doing stuff like that. Some other considerations are, can we produce it at the quality that we demand? Can it do what we want it to do for you guys? Like, what is it that you guys want out of this product? And can we guarantee that that product will meet your expectations? Will it flow enough? Is it strong enough? Does it have the right NVH or whatever the characteristics are of this product? There are times when we go out and either try to produce it ourselves or find a supplier that can work with us to build it to our specifications, and we just can't find anyone, and we end up not being able to release those products. So I think a lot of people in the market, especially customers, sit on the sidelines and look at what companies like us do and think that it's probably easy to do, and that like maybe we make it look easy sometimes.
Or it's something you like, oh, I know how to build a turbo kit or something like that, and you think it's
I could build my own turbo kit for $2,000. Why does that one cost $8,000? And it's not easy to do. So there's lots of companies that come and go in this industry. We've been around since the early 2000s, and we're very fortunate, but we've also figured out how to do this well. There's a handful of other companies that have been around, kind of around that same amount of time, but substantially more have come and gone. So interesting question. We could talk all day. There's Nick mentioned the R8. The R8 was an interesting scenario because we thought that there was going to be a lot of people that would like to really get into upgrading their R8, making it handle and drive even better. And what we found is that there's not that many. Yeah. They're already really good handling cars right out of the box, and most R8 owners are just looking to do like wheel upgrades and things like that. And we have a whole product line of R8 stuff on our website that sells not as good as it should. But yeah, so yeah, we did a round of R8 products, and subsequent products we ended up kind of canceling those R&D projects because the demand just didn't seem to be there. All right, someone says I got a sway bar and it didn't come with stickers. Same with my control arms. I don't know why this is happening. We're supposed to be sending out a nice sticker sheet with every order. So Nick, marketing guys, this isn't getting fixed apparently, or I don't know what the scenario is here. Maybe this was in the past, but sometimes like one of the shipping stations runs out of stickers and no one says anything, and they just ship orders, which is good. But anyways, yeah. So let's get that fixed, guys. If you'd like stickers, please email sales@034motorsport and please request your sticker, and we'll be sure to send some out for you. For a 2017 B8.5 SQ5, at what point is a CSF radiator upgrade necessary or beneficial? I think if you're seeing high coolant temps and you're looking, to do something about that, certainly on track, coolant temps become challenging. But if you're not really having any problems with coolant temps, one nice thing is the CSF radiator is an all aluminum design and should last the life of the car. I don't think the factory radiators are super bad on those, but they do have plastic end tanks that are kind of crimped on. So those can start to fail or leak. There's plastic fittings, with the snap lock fittings. Those can break and fail as well, especially over time. So, but I don't think the B8s are super coolant limited, not coolant temp limit, not like the B9s are.
Yeah, if you're looking for like a OEM replacement, or you've got an issue where you need to replace your radiator, that certainly be a good time to look at that.
Mm-hmm. Is there anyone running full frame on B9 platform? What are the limitations on the engine? I'm not aware of anyone, but there probably is some shop that's done something custom out there. It's really not necessary. The limitations are not really in the turbos at this point. It's addressing the strength of the motor, especially the pistons, the piston issue that we've documented really well. And then on the fueling side, just getting that additional fuel. You can stick some MPI on a B9 and squirt some fuel in with a split-second controller, but that's not really the right way to do it. And I would be very hesitant to do that on a 1,000 horsepower full-frame build. So right now,
I'm sure there's probably somebody out there running a full-frame setup, but I don't. Off the top of my head, I can't think of anybody that's run anything quicker than any of the production stuff that's out there right now.
I would be very surprised.
Yeah. Which says a lot into how difficult it is to do it correctly.
What impact does your locking collar kit have on handling? Well, ideally none. What the locking collar kit does is it prevents the subframe from being able to shift.
Yeah, well, it impacts it in that it should be the same every time.
Yes.
Once it's installed and working correctly.
So once you impact the locking collar kit, handling will be solid, consistent, and great. Without the locking collars, the factory subframe can shift around in the big slotted holes in the subframe. The factory bolts tend to stretch, and due to all the slop around them, the subframe can move around. So typically how this manifests is not so much in the handling, although if it's really bad you would feel it. It's when you're going over driveways and things like that, you'll hear clicking or cracking sounds. It could be when you go from going forward, braking, and then go reversing, the subframe will shift as the kind of torque shifts in the drivetrain. So it's unfortunately a necessary upgrade for that generation of Volkswagen with the slotted holes in the subframe. Especially if you drive the car hard, and like most of us listening to this do. Lots of update questions. I don't know, do you want to answer number one?
Yeah, I'm not really sure what they're asking. They're asking, is the team testing any advanced torque or ignition strategies to help the SQ5 stay on boost while rolling? I'm assuming
sounds like rolling anti-wire.
They mean the B9 S4? No, that's, well, I don't, maybe that's what they're trying to get around. But I mean, we have rolling climax TCU files, which do 0 torque reduction on shifts. So you've got full boogie, even through the shift. So I would need a little more specifics to know quite what you're looking to accomplish on that.
Mm-hmm. Is there before considering making an MPI kit for the Mk8 GTI Golf R? Mm-hmm. We are. It's basically been finished, and the engineering is done.
Yep.
We're simply producing it right now, so it will be released at some point in the not too far future. And I know that we will also be offering a new kind of factory intake manifold to make the swap easier as an option, so you don't have to drill and modify the factory intake manifold. And we'll sell it without that too. Is it normal on stage 2 TCU on B9 RS5 to hit the limiter in manual mode? I'm stage 1 plus ECU, and it's happened a couple times and causes misfire codes.
That is, the limiter is their stock. It will not auto upshift stock. So we don't change that behavior and make it upshift. So that's
right.
That's a pretty normal thing. I don't know about the misfire.
That doesn't make sense.
That doesn't make sense. If you're just racking on the limiter for a while, maybe something's going on there. But
I've certainly hit the rev limiter a lot.
Yeah, I mean that's a completely normal function and normal operation in the stock ECU as well.
Stage 2, Gen 2 R8 ZTF Wheels. I'm not sure, to be honest. I don't know if the marketing team has any input, but I don't know how well our Gen 1 R8 wheels fit on the Gen 2. I have a feeling the Gen 2 has much bigger wheels and rolling diameter than Gen 1. We'd have to look into that. But if you want to look at the specs on our 20-inch R8 wheels, you could start there. They're really nice wheels. I think they might be too small for a Gen 2, but I'm not sure. B9 SQ5 Stage 1, when brake boosting, does anything else happen? Feels like transmission frees up to allow the car to build boost, but could be my imagination.
There's stall speed set points and whatnot that will change depending on, are you brake boosting or are you launching? Again, try and give some more info to know kind of what your situation is here. But no, if you're rolling and doing brake boosting, it should lock in basically at that. It'll be fixed at that RPM. I mean, you're going to have to modulate your brakes to maintain the speed you're shooting for. But no, the transmission won't loosen and shouldn't free up. If we were on launch control, that's different. It will try and hit a certain stall speed and manage that a bit more, so that can move things around a little bit. But yeah, just try and give us a little more info on what you're trying to accomplish.
A lot of questions today.
A lot of questions.
Someone's asking, how was my cycling trip? It was great. I did the Mount Diablo challenge.
Oh, was that this weekend?
Yesterday, which is a 11.5 mile bike ride up Mount Diablo. I like doing it because it's the only time throughout the whole year that they close that road. Normally, when you're riding and it's a grueling climb to the top, you're doing like 5-6 miles an hour. If you're me, like 5, 6, 7 miles an hour. So the cars keep coming up on you and need to pass you, and there's like all these switchbacks, and it sucks. So on this race, they shut the whole mountain down, and I did it in about an hour and a half, which I'm thrilled to even be able to finish at all. The guy that won it did it in less than half the time that I did.
Jeez.
Basically he was probably doing about 15 miles an hour the entire time going up. And some of the stuff is like 15% grade. It's really steep. So Really cool. If I'm 51, if I could give you any advice, I would say start getting active and do something that you enjoy. It's been one of the most incredible things that I've done for my life, and is improving my health and being in shape. I can like keep up with my teenage kids, and that's an amazing thing to be able to do as a dad. And I can also keep up with probably most 25, 30-year-olds who don't work out as much as I do. So, but there's nothing like being young.
Yeah.
There's these like 20, 25-year-olds, and they're just... There's a bunch of them that did it in less than an hour. Very impressive.
A slight follow-up for that. The full-frame turbo, somebody was posting that they just did a low 9s in their full-frame RS4 recently. So.
Oh, in Europe?
I don't know. Maybe.
Well, I'd love to see more information on that. Also about what you did to address the fueling issues, because that's really the biggest challenge.
I know there was some guys doing full like standalone builds and stuff with them too. So.
With like Syvecs,
Motec or whatever.
This is an interesting question. What's been the hardest engineering problem your team has had to solve, and what did you learn from it? I mean, I would say by far the most difficult challenges we solve is in software and calibration.
It's certainly the most. It's the darkest room with the least amount of lights.
It's just another level of technical.
There's no resources you can lean on. There's no like traditional schools of thought or other like. There are traditional schools of thought, but there's no like simple A to B process.
Infrastructure.
Where you can just
Yeah, not like mechanical engineering where there's an entire world. I mean, we do some great work in our hardware engineering departments. There's thousands and thousands of companies that can do the same level of work that we do.
It's a very definable problem, and the stuff we have to deal with on the reverse engineering side, where we're trying to find a security exploit, or it's not tuning. It's trying to find
software, it's computer,
it's hacking or whatever you want to call it. It's not tuning. It's just reverse engineering and trying to find all these little slots we can put our code in, or some little exploit that some engineer and team of engineers or software package somehow overlooked that you can take advantage of to even start flashing the controller. Never mind flashing it correctly and flashing it with performance software that works appropriately.
And what you learned is that it's very hard to do.
It is not. It has not gotten any easier.
Any other inspirational thoughts about what you learned? Some of your more difficult.
Don't forget to step back and look at the big picture from time to time, and to just try and take a fresh look at things as at certain points, because you can certainly get down rabbit holes that'll take you a week to come out of.
Yeah, if you're down a rabbit hole and everything that you're trying to solve the problem with is in that rabbit hole, then you've left a lot.
There could be some other some other look you need to take at it, and some.
Well, there you go. That's a great lesson right there.
Yeah, it's not a straight path that you have a map for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I would say, having known and worked with you for at least 20 years now, that you have this incredible ability to just keep going. And like I would throw the computer against the wall within like 5 minutes, and like 6 months later you're still there hacking away at the problem.
It's tough because it's one of those things, like we have to get it done. I know there's a way to do it. It's just finding.
Yeah. You have an incredible patience that I don't.
I don't know if I'd call it that. It's a
you're very
bullheadedness.
Well, stubbornness is part of it, but the fact that you can't be stubborn if you're impatient, right? The stubbornness has to persist in kind of this overall patience and calm that to keep chipping away at it. So I'm more of a smash through the wall and get things done quick kind of guy, and so that's really a skill that you and the rest of the team have. It's the calibrators too, just can spend weeks perfecting an issue in the tune and calibration.
Yep.
Nobody knows what it is, and they eventually always figure it out.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, we've got a great crew that we all put our heads together, basically every day of the week, and have a collaboration meetings every morning to go over who's got whatever roadblocks in front of them, and everybody chimes in on what we can do to help.
Yeah. I think in general on the hardware side, I think never taking anything for granted, never assuming anything is true, testing everything as much as possible, and always having an open mind as to what could be improved and what could be better. I think where people really get in trouble is they really hang on to a certain way or method or material or design or whatever it is for way too long, and you really have to be unattached to any specific certain way to do anything, and always be driving towards what's the best solution, what's the actual solution.
Yeah, and I'm constantly looking and watching videos on various techniques and different staying in your own world. You're really good at something, but you still just come out of the ground, take a look around, see what other leaders in the industry might be doing in the software world or the hardware design world. Not necessarily like automotive or whatever or anything. It's like I'm talking like a lot of the stuff I will just use to like refresh or get new inspiration from. There's a lot of like embedded game developers that will just go down deep rabbit holes of optimizations and strategies for stuff that have nothing to do with automotive anything, but it's a processor that has very similar constraints as the automotive world that you're working in, and there's a lot of same philosophies you can apply on anything in a constrained system.
Do all of your tunes have real launch control, or is it just stage 2 and above?
That is very much going to depend on the vehicle again in question here. Generally, anything we offer launch control on is going to be on all of our calibrations. That's it. We don't constrain it to a stage typically. All of our B9 stuff have native launch control that implements the factory launch control strategies. It's a real launch control. A lot of the B8 stuff, we add our own flavor on top of it. If it's a DSG model, if it's a manual model, it's very much 100% only our launch control software that's running, because those don't have factory manual launch control. So, but it's on all of our stages. So yeah, it depends on the platform. But yes, generally anything we advertise as having launch control is real launch control.
Yeah, you can go to the product page and all the information will be there about that. Here's one. Someone said, are you guys able to send me just the end links for the sway bars? I had a guy install front and rear sway bars. He installed them, but stock end links. Yes, actually all of our end links are sold separately. So if you just go to our website, put in your make model, and you can purchase the end links. Generally, we recommend our Dynamic Plus end links for street driving. If you want more adjustability and more stiffness, the Motorsport end links are the way to go. But in general, the Dynamic Plus offer adjustability and increased strength over stock end links. I think we already did number 7.
Yep.
Can I run straight pump E85 on a CREC A6, or do I have to mix 93 octane like the previous 3.0 T E40 blend?
We list on our flashing server and on our product pages all of the fuels you can run, and on the stage 1, stage 2 CREC you can run full straight E85.
Yeah, because the CREC has MPI.
It's got MPI, so we've got a little more fueling overhead than the previous generation stuff. Yep.
Is 034 able to flash a TCU tune over a Mk8 Golf over a TZ mech?
So if you've got a unlocked mech unit on there, yes, we can flash it. We'll need to know a little more info on it. A lot of these guys that are doing mech swaps are now changing the software versions all over the place and putting their own little tags and signatures in there. So you have no way of correlating one to a different stock calibration. So we might have to poke around and figure out exactly what's on there so that we can then flash over it for you. But it is technically 100% possible, yes.
What's 034's thoughts on name brand connecting rods such as Pauter, Saenz, or traditional Eagle rods versus China-made rods, with all of them being made of 4340 and ARP2000 bolts, but rod bearing failure? There's a lot of good rods out there. We do sell some Eagle rods, which are Chinese-made rods, but what we like about them is that Eagle finishes them and hones them here in the U.S. to tolerances that, in our experience, are very tight and good tolerances. If you just buy some like China rods from AliExpress or whatever, they're probably going to be okay, but you just don't know anything.
I mean, even the tolerances, you run into stuff. There's some design around the rod, the main end, that's come to light at some recent builds, where the rod deforms at certain loads and RPMs and takes out the bearings.
Because it's not thick enough.
It's just not. Yeah, it's not engineered properly for the stresses. So.
Yeah, and in our experience, years ago, we would take rods like that to a machine shop, and they'd just have to redo everything. They'd have to hone them
just
out.
to even get the clearance.
Yeah, just to get them even close.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're oversized, they're too big, which presents its own set of issues. It'd be one thing if they could be honed out bigger. And then you literally don't know what they're made out of. I mean, they say 4340, you really don't know. And I've even seen fake ARP2000 rod bolts that fail at really low loads. So as always, it's really important who you're dealing with. Is the company that you're buying from, are they trustworthy? The Pauter stuff is world-class, high-end rods. That's what we offer for all our B9 program. I think things like Corilla rods, Saenz rods are very good. Some of our competitors bring in China rods, and one of them, we were installing some of their rods in a motor, and they literally told us to sand the small end with sandpaper wrapped around our finger until the wrist pin fit in it, and they were just China rods that were going through their facility here in the U.S., and they weren't QCing them or anything. You just have to be careful. I think as long as who you're buying from is reputable, if you trust them, if you feel like you can trust them, that's a good place to start. I would say you can buy any of our rods in confidence. We've sold thousands of rod sets, and we sell and use what works, what's good, and definitely always make sure you measure all this stuff. Don't take anything for granted. You have to you want to tolerance and blueprint every part that goes into the motor. But yeah, like Nate said, you could have rod bearing failures if you install the bearings.
All the tolerances can look great.
If the tolerances are off, you didn't check them.
Well, even if the tolerances are right, but the rod's deforming under load,
then there's a whole other issue.
Problem.
That's the rod just bending and stuff.
Yeah,
so.
Or the bearing interface is deforming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Pauters might seem expensive, but when your motor is blown on the side of the road, with oil pouring onto the road below you, that extra $1,000 doesn't seem so expensive. So,
and usually, if you lose a rod end, you're taking out more components there. You're taking out cranks and
you might need a whole new
pumps
motor,
or pistons or whatever. It's not usually a single point of failure.
Could be $5-10 grand.
Window the block if the main end seizes up. So.
Yep. For the EA8, I'm assuming this is the EA839.
Yep.
Would there be any downside to capping off both sides of the vacuum line that causes water pump issues? The warm-up period would be a little longer, of course.
I don't know off the top of my head. I don't know what the side effect is on that. Because I feel like that is not just a routing, a fluid routing thing. It's a pump efficiency change where it'll actually but change the amount of effect the impeller has on the actual fluid flow.
Do you want to grab a question real quick? I want to look something up. Maybe number 5 or something.
One second here. Thinking of buying a 2014 RS3. Do you have a tune for the pre-DAZA? Currently have a 2014 S3 with ECU and TCU. and love the extra power. We have tunes for the like the 8J in the US anyway is the 8J only TTRS. And we have done it's the same effective ECU in the RS3s on the other side of the pond. So we do have tunes for those. We have Stage 1, Stage 2, Stage 2 Plus with a fuel pump, RS500 turbo kit for those. So yeah, we have lots of tuning for those, both ECU and I don't think we have TCU for that one right now, but our partner Racing Line I believe does. So we could probably work and get you set up with something. Hit up our sales department and we will let you know exactly what we have, because we never got the that generation of the DQ500 here.
What do you guys think about California thinking of going to E15? Are we going to have crappier, inconsistent gas?
It's basically E15 already. I'm not sure.
It's E10, right?
It's E. We see it all over the place. We monitor it a lot.
Okay.
We've seen up.
Well, it's supposed to be
teens.
E10.
I think it's a minimum of E10 now. There's going to be a minimum of E15. I think
that's also seasonal too.
I think E15's almost where we see it all the time anyway.
That's also seasonal, right? Like certain times like in the winter.
Yeah.
I think I just did a quick search. I think that the state has passed something that allows the sale of E15. It's not mandated or required. The idea behind E15 is that because it uses more ethanol, that it's cheaper. Ethanol is very cheap compared to gasoline.
It's subsidized. Yeah.
So it brings the price down a little bit. It can still run in 96% of all cars just fine. And I think the state's reviewing the environmental impact of that, but I anticipate there's an issue there. So I don't think the gas will be less consistent. It might consistently have more E85 content. It already has a certain level.
Tricky. It depends how they blend it. If they're blending like a much lower grade octane with E15, knowing it'll bring it up to a certain knock index, then it'll be no benefit to traditional 91, and there'll be a little less headroom in the fuel system. So we'll have to see. It's
supposed to bump the octane up to 1 octane point by going to E15.
Yeah, but then why wouldn't they blend it with more lower octane fuel to keep the octane the same to save even more money? So who knows? We'll have to see what it actually pans out to.
Yeah. Thoughts on a 4-port head kit for the EA888 Gen 3?
I mean, they're out there.
Yeah, I mean, it depends what you're trying to do. I think for the average 500 horsepower car, it's been proven not needed.
Yeah, if you're looking for some custom setup and going for the moon.
Yeah. It would be interesting to see the performance difference or improvements.
Like a real A/B test?
It's
tricky because the turbos are so...
Yeah, like for years with 180s, this is an example, the ABs, the early 180s, had really nice big ports. But later cars in 2000 went to this really small port. And so immediately everyone was like, oh, I can't believe my head sucks. The ports are so small, it's not going to make any power. So we started doing a lot of work for people, who had small ports. We would put a big port head on, get it installed for them. And we would do before and after dynos, and there was like no difference, virtually no power difference. And maybe once we got to like 600 horsepower, right, did you start to see some differences? But the point was that there was plenty of flow for the average 400 or 500 horsepower motor, and I suspect it's similar with these, that the turbos don't need a ton of flow. In fact, the turbo system works through like the optimal amount of restriction, and so if ultimately the turbo is the biggest restriction in the system on purpose. So I'd like I said, I'm just saying it's probably not as great of an upgrade as you think it will be. Certainly if you're not trying to make 1,000 horsepower, I'm sure there would be a difference there. But yeah, with the average hybrid type turbo, I don't think.
Yeah, and just be careful what it ends up either opening your doors to or limiting you to as well, or limiting your options to as well, because you're now in the very smaller set of known mods basically that are going to be available. So there's not going to be nearly as many tuning options or hardware options out there once you go to a more and more customized setup.
Can I run 93 octane tune in Denver, Colorado on 91 pump? 93 isn't available here.
No, you run the 91 octane file. We wouldn't. I mean, there's a reason that we have octane ratings for all of our files. Just because you don't have access to a higher octane fuel doesn't mean you just run that file. So no, always run the appropriate calibration for the fuel that you have available.
Please.
Yes.
Like Nate said, they're called that for a reason.
Yep.
We would just have universal fuel.
We would have a gasoline tune if it was truly universal for any of the octanes available.
B9.5 S4. I want to rebuy the tune for this car, considering I had a 21, but my dongle says transmission protected. Tech support said yes, should be, but I'm concerned.
I truly don't know what they're asking here. If it's a later model TCU that is not flashable, then no, we currently don't have an option for you. I'm not sure what you would rebuy. Well, again, we'd need to know a little more info on this and what exactly you're looking for on that.
I have a front sway bar on my B9 S5. I have a clunking sound on the driver's side. What would you recommend I check? This is pretty common. So I would check that the brackets are tight. I would check that the end link bolts are tight. Usually that's what it is the end link bolts get loose, and which will allow some clunking. It could be also that you have failed or worn front sway bar bushings, and that would also cause a clunk, although that's pretty rare. But we do sell replacement bushing kits just for that reason, because the bushings are a wear item. So yeah, I would check all that, assuming that it's something to do with the sway bar. It could be a loose bolt or worn bushing in one of your control arms. Anything in your suspension can clunk too. So, but the sway bars do need that extra attention from time to time. The stiffer sway bar does put more stress on things and can cause these type of issues. But they're solvable. You just gotta find out what it is. You want to grab number one?
That's someone just asking if we're working on the 401 bootloader for Mk8s. They're saying TVS came out with a solution. You do not need to have to change the mechatronic unit. They followed up and said that they were flashing it all through the OBD port as well on the YouTube comment. That's only partially true from what everything we've seen. They are doing a direct to TCU connection initially for their unlock process, so you do need a special cable and hardware to do an unlock at one of their dealers, and then it is OBD flashable. So it's still a little more complicated than most flashes. But yes, we are working on stuff right now. I don't have any other timelines to give you, but we've got a number of solutions we're testing right
now. Sometimes when taking an on-off ramp in my Mk8 GTI, I will hear a clicking sound. I can kind of feel it through the driver's side wheel well too. Is this normal? To clarify, it's like a clicky, scratchy sound. I mean, if it's only when you're turning and loading up the car, it sounds like you could have something loose in your suspension or something.
It's so hard to know. I mean, if it's only on corner load, I would look at exhaust stuff. That can actually move quite a bit side to side while you're cornering if you've changed anything in there. If you're like fully loaded up in suspension, getting a bunch of lateral G's, and then that's when you're hearing this clicking, then it could be that. It could be a CV joint or something like that if it's fully loaded up.
Clicky makes me think CV. Scratchy makes me think it could be like one of your brake dust shields rubbing on the rotor. That can happen, especially if you've done work on the car and you like pushed on or leaned on the dust shield, or like you're trying to get something loose in there and your elbow hits it. They're pretty thin and can bend, and so when the wheel turns, that dust shield can kind of flex and very lightly touch the rotor. I've seen that quite a bit over the years, but
that's a really tough one to diagnose over the internet.
Yeah. Good luck. Definitely get in there and see what you can find.
Yep.
Do you guys think that robust development of tunes utilizing the Syvecs OEX is the future for a lot of these newer engines with only direct injection?
It's something we've been implementing, and we've talked about it a bit. And we have a pretty solid foundation now on all the B8s, the 3-liter B8 S4s running this system. We do fully integrate it and tie it in with the stock ECU, so it's not. It is basically a managed supplemental fueling system from the stock ECU. It doesn't do any of its own fueling calculations. It relies on the stock ECU for all that. Lots of people will use the OEX in a very, it's a more advanced supplemental fueling system, but they still treat it like it's its own thing. Whereas with ours, it's a first-class member, essentially, of the stock ECU's calibration system. So the stock ECU knows how much fuel the OEX or fueling system is injecting, and in turn we tell the OEX how much we need injected as well. So it's closed loop, it's bank specific, it's very tightly managed and controlled.
Yeah.
So yes, things like that. There will be more. Maybe it's OEX, maybe it's something else, but it'll be integrations like that is what we're going to be leaning on for supplemental fueling.
We did one.
Oh, yeah.
8Y S3 rev startup similar to B9 S4. The throttle blip sounded awesome. Missing the feature in my S3. Thank you for your hard work.
Yeah, we'll have to get that on the queue.
RS start?
It's basically the RS start is what they're asking for there. On the Golf R, they have it's the emotion start is what they call it in the factory.
Emotion.
The emotive start or the emotion start. So yes, it is something we can implement.
You just start crying.
Yeah. It's something where you gotta cycle the key or hold the start stop for a certain amount of time, and it'll give you an emotion start.
Oh yeah, someone's this question came in, and so we wanted to talk about this. We did release a kit of 8 coils for 4.0T motors this week. These there's only 4 pictured here, but these coils are our high output coils for the that generation of 4.0T, and they feature our heat sink here to help cool the driver inside here and draw some of the heat away from the coil, especially in bursts of electrical energy. And comes with 8 coils, direct replacement for the factory ignition coils. They come in red and yellow. Saving money for the day. 034 releases over-engineered super duper exhaust tips. Are these the MILF attracting tips?
Over-engineered.
The MILF tips. Definitely something we're on our list. Those cars need it bad. Probably an easy one, but I bought some auto parts store rotors and ceramic pads on my B8.5 3.0T to try to eliminate a nasty high-speed braking shake, and has continued to do so any way you can help. I don't know. It's hard to say. I don't. I hate to blame the aftermarket auto parts store rotors, but you had it before, which makes me wonder if it's something else.
I mean, it could be like a loose tie rod or something in the front that's loading up and unloading. It could be, I don't know. It's tough. Cheap. I've also had cheap rotors. It was there before. This is just an anecdotal, but I've had very cheap rotors turn into almost potato chips if you really get them hot. They warped so bad.
Yeah, depending on what it's made out of, it will just warp really badly. So yeah, I don't know. I would start with a reputable rotor option. Something like Brembo or Aute, like an OE replacement rotor. Aute, Brembo, those two for sure.
And Zimmerman.
Yeah,
there's some other.
Yeah. I don't know what you got. If you got CREC brand rotors, they could just. I mean, I'll tell you, they're just cheap rotors that they source from China, from some factory, along with a bunch of other auto parts. So, with what you see from these auto parts chains is you can go to China and you can be like, I want a line of 10,000 auto parts, and there's companies that are like, here you go, here's all the Chinese catalog of, you know, the 10,000 most popular auto parts that someone would want in America, and you can just get an aftermarket auto parts line of products that easily. Most of the stuff is total crap. It's very cheap stuff, and they typically mark it up a lot, and then they just deal with the issues as they come. And if you're making 90 cents on the dollar on an auto part, you can send the customer 3 or 4, and you could still be making 60 cents, 70 cents on the dollar. You know, so that's how a lot of that really cheap stuff is. I'm not saying for sure that the parts are all bad. Some of the stuff is surprisingly good quality, despite how cheap it is. But things like brake rotors, like Nate said, are very subject to thermal loads. If the rotor is made from, say, like regular cast iron, which is great for, you know, the pan that you cook food in, no problem there. But a brake rotor that's spinning, that heats up really fast, that brake rotor will warp if it doesn't have the right thermal expansion properties and thermal properties. It needs to be the right grade of steel. It can't just be iron. So I'm not surprised if it's the rotor. You may have had just a warped rotor before, which is the normal thing.
Yeah, I guess that's the question. Did it change at all?
But then you may have installed a really cheap, crappy warping rotor. So it could be a coincidence that both are doing the same thing, or it could mean that something else entirely is causing this vibration. Yeah. And like I said, getting some good quality rotors from Brembo, Zimmerman, Aute would at least assure that you have a good rotor in there. If it's still doing it, then it's very likely something else. All right. Yeah, and just FYI, we would never install rotors like that in our service department, because we want people to leave and be happy. We don't want them to come back and say, hey, I hit the brakes 5 times and my steering wheel shakes now when I hit the brakes. You know, we don't want that. So we'd much rather just send you out with a great quality brake rotor and never see you come back for that until they're worn out the next time. Yep. Just bought your dead set kit for Mark 7 front subframe. Has there been any issues with one of the holes not lining up with both the collars in? No, I've certainly never heard of that. Are you saying that when you put the top and bottom halves in, the bolt doesn't go through?
So I'm trying to figure out if that, or if it's like they get 2 in and then one of the rear ones doesn't line up, which would indicate you've got a bent subframe or frame, generally. But
it's possible.
Yeah, no, we haven't. I mean,
but no,
the whole point of that kit is to lock it in place, and everything should be lining up. It is a much more precision fit than stock, so it is less tolerable to.
You're gonna have to really mess with it to get it in place. It's probably more the issue is you're gonna have to just get it in the right perfect
make sure you're not like tightening up one and then the other. Like you want to have all 4 loose and basically not cinched up in any way. Until you got everything in place, and then slowly pull them all up one by one.
Someone says they sent an email yesterday about a new purchase, and any idea when they get a response? You should get a response today, but if you don't, I would say by tomorrow at the latest. Just keep in mind that we are closed on the weekends, so the clock kind of starts ticking this morning. We do take the weekends off. At some point, we'll have some type of AI responding to as much as we can all hours of the day and night. And we are actually implementing more and more AI in our customer service email ticketing system. This is logical, common sense AI designed to make your life better, not worse.
Yeah, we're doing a lot of testing to make sure it's delivering only things that are correct and reliable.
But it's using the AI to respond to things that the AI can accurately do, and all the stuff that it can't is still being handled by a human. Does the hot V design of the B9 3.0 contribute to the high oil temps road course drivers experience? Do drag racers experience high oil temps?
I don't think it necessarily contributes any additional oil temperature load just because it's a hot feed design.
I doubt it. Yeah. These motors produce a lot of power.
It's a lot of power in a small package. I mean,
yeah, it really is. I mean, the temp issues aren't nearly an issue on stock cars that have much lower power, but once you almost double the power, it does overwhelm the system. Drag racers don't have a problem. Drag racing is really easy on engines. Everyone kind of thinks like, oh, drag racing, but
no, keeping it together on a road course for an extended period of time is far more challenging.
In fact, you can look up drag racing radiator. And there are there are drag cars with literally like little oil coolers for their radiator because that's literally how much the coolant heats up in the 7 seconds the engine's under load.
Right.
No, it's not a drag racing issue, and it's not really so much on the street either. But once you get on the road course, it's going to take 2 or 3 laps. And you're gonna start overwhelming the factory cooling system.
Yeah, and those that haven't ever really driven on track with any kind of experience, it is not comparable in any way to what you can do on basically any street or any other situation. You're not ever going to be able to get the kind of heat and load and just all around heat and abuse as you're going to see on a road course.
Unless you want to like go to jail or kill yourself, then you can probably get close
kill
to
others.
It's
not something that's generally remotely feasible to replicate anywhere else but a track.
Yeah, I would say on the street, if you had a really nice wide open mountain road.
If you turn a street into a race track and you treat it like one, which again you're going to kill yourself or someone else.
Yeah, but that's about the only time you
back to your Mount Diablo. Talk about
Mount Diablo could do it. It can also destroy the cooling system.
There's plenty of roads that turn into closed circuit road courses. Yeah. That's still valid, but most people have not been in that situation.
B9 SQ5 lowering links with air suspension. Driver right front now sits 3/4 of an inch higher than front left. Links are the same length. What would cause that?
Ooh.
It's got to have something to do with the sensor.
I'm almost thinking like a bracket might be flipped around or something.
Go back in there and double check what Nate said. Make sure your links are the same length. You could try swapping links from side to side, and if it doesn't move with the link, then it's something on that side. Mm-hmm. But I've never heard of that issue per se, so...
I need to
keep us posted, and feel free to email tech support as well.
I'm trying to think too, like the SQ5. I don't even know that does wheel dependent height adjustment. I think there are links. It's just an air pressure with a shared reservoir and a shared line. So I'm not sure you can even do independent height control on
those. I don't know why the factory would even allow.
They need to be the same for correlation because it does yaw and other measurements based on those. But I don't think it's going to set independent wheel heights based on those. Make sure you're not parked in a hole.
Oil temp via 034 app reads 5 to 25F higher than the dash display on a B8.5 S4 VCDS enabled. Used to be very close. Replaced both oil pressure sensors recently because new sensors or something else.
It could be the new sensors.
Yeah. That's not a big difference.
No, the dash displays on all the Volkswagen Audi stuff. I'm not saying this is the cause, but the what you see on the instrument cluster is very curated. That's the word I was looking for. Is there is for whatever reason Audi and Volkswagen like to put a mountain of filters and tweaks and adjustments to that gauge set. So it's only going to look super smooth. It's going to show this relative sort of data that kind of looks roughly like what you would want to see for most of the time. And only when it's like way outside of like what a normal operating condition would be will you start to see needles move out of their intended zones. The tachometer has a ridiculous amount of like predictive things and filtering things. Like you'd think it's just showing the RPM for your engine, but it is not nearly as tightly constrained to that as you'd think.
I mean, it's a display gauge, and they want you to see what they want you to see. Yeah. They don't necessarily want you to see how all the sausage is being made.
Yeah. So. But given the motor, there's oftentimes multiple sensors on the motor. you'll have oil temperature readings that like might be going into the oil cooler, another one's in the sump or something well after the oil cooler set. So you can certainly see temperature deviations at different sensors in the motor, which might be what you're looking at.
All right, well, I think we're out of time for this week.
Oh, damn. That one.
Yeah,
quick.
See,
so we have pretty coils too, if you guys are looking for coils.
Another 30 minutes, you could be at the top of Mount Diablo.
Oh, dang.
Well,
you could. I would probably be crumpled in a heap somewhere on the way.
Thanks for joining us this week. I think we'll see you guys next week. Cheers.
Here.